everyone, this is Amy. I'm the technical specialist for Microsoft 365. Today we'll be going deep into Microsoft Teams. The session that I prepared for you is how to run effective meetings and live events for Microsoft Teams. Let's go to the agenda of today. So in the next 40 minutes, here's what we are going to cover. Firstly, we'll talk about what is the new approach that Microsoft Teams is advocating for you to have effective meetings, enhance your productivities. Next, we're going to cover some of the recent or the upcoming features on Microsoft Teams meeting that also help you improve your productivities. And then third, it will be a common ask by our customers, how to schedule or produce broadcast town hall using Microsoft Teams live event. And then lastly, we'll open up the floor for Q&A.
Here is a standard introduction slide about Microsoft Teams.
But today I would like to give you some new perspective. So recently, many of us have been working from home. And when you think about the components that you need to work from home, it is essentially equals to the summation of the communication and collaboration. Then we break into components, then they are actually the function here. You see chat, meetings, calling, plus files on Teams. And then we also include an app store, which we allows you to connect or integrate with also the third-party solution that we have in the connector here. Lastly, Admin Center here, we decided to keep Teams and Skype for Business in a separate way, but coexist way, given that we believe many organizations are also planning for the migration journey from Skype for Business to Teams. Skype for Business Online is going to sunset next year in July. The reason that we separate this admin center is also we're able to allow you to do a coexist mode in your environment, and you could design what are the workloads that you want your user to test or try in Microsoft Teams first. For example, you may want to keep your existing calling workloads, IM workloads in Skype for Business, but to move the meeting to Microsoft Teams to benefit from the Microsoft Global Network. But simply having this kind of features doesn't really mean that you already have effective meetings. Therefore, let's look into some of the common challenges that we see nowadays that cause people always have ineffective meetings. So the reason are the common reason are firstly, meeting always overrun, which causes vicious cycle here. For the next meeting, the participant are not showing up on time, many late attendees here, and because of that, basically the whole day of our work from home scenario are packed with tons of meetings, which causes don't really even have time to prepare for meetings. And even during the meetings, we may not be really focusing, we will just multitask. So having all this kind of ineffective meeting experience, how we tackle that, we created this process called the meeting lifecycle. So that's how we come up with a philosophy for you to have effective meetings using Microsoft Teams. So before, we always focus on how we could improve the during experience. But this is not really the way for you to get the most out of the call. So in order to add more value to your team, given to the same amount of meeting time, we should bear in mind with a list of best practices here. So not only during the call, before the meetings, we should be well prepared. For example, we should at least send out a clear agenda with a list of pre-read materials being easily distributed to our attendees. And everyone is well prepared, so during the call, everyone could be fully engaged, contributes their ideas inside the meetings effectively. And then by the end of the call, with the fruitful conversation we also have the ability to come up with a list of follow-up action, able to distribute it to the corresponding owners effectively. So, and I want to show this to you into a real demo here. So this is the Teams client. That's how basically I start my day of work every day. In the Teams client, when I go to calendar, I'm able to see all the upcoming meetings that is synced across Microsoft Outlook and Microsoft Teams. So when I need to join a call or meeting, I just need to quickly click into that. Normally, I can just click into the join button on the top right-hand corners. For example, if it is an upcoming meetings, so for this, it's the Microsoft Teams phone introduction meeting organized by myself, that I may want to share some more information to the participant before the call. What I need to do is I just need to simply right click into this meeting, go to chat with participant. Then inside this chat room, I'm able to interact with all the audience. So I just need to type in the agenda and send out here, then everybody in the call will be able to receive that. And not only text, I could also simply drag a PowerPoint files here. And I could also select OneDrive as my data source for me to share here. Or alternatively, I could even paste a SharePoint or OneDrive link here. Then Teams will automatically help me convert to a file format here. When I click into the three dots button here, so that's the strong integration that Microsoft Teams across the whole Office suites. So you see I have the option to edit within Teams. When I click into that, I'm able to directly get into the PowerPoint files here for me to do the editings. I don't even need to install or have other Office suites. When I need to edit, I just need to click inside that and make the changes. It will automatically sync back to the Office 365 cloud. So on the file tabs here, it consolidates all the files that are being shared that are related to these meetings. And when I click to the three dot action here, I will be able to share the file. You'll be able to see that the interface is exactly same experience when you share files from your SharePoint or OneDrive. That's the intention that we build file storage from Teams are from SharePoint and OneDrive. It doesn't necessarily to be disable or enable file sharing, but also as you see here, it's a more granular option that you could choose or inherit from your SharePoint Admin Center. It could be a file that only share within your organization. That's the OrgWire link that I selected here, or I could select for specific people. Or some other settings, such as I could disallow editing, so it's a read-only file share to my attendees, or I could also block downloads or even set a deadline for this sharing access. For example, I'm ready to join the call. Then here is a landing page for me to do a proper setup before I join to the calls. I am able to toggle on my camera, my microphone. So here I am also demonstrating an upcoming feature called the customized background within Microsoft Teams. Other than the default background, I'm also able to upload my custom image here. So it could be a company logo. So here, when you go to the setting wheel, then you're able to do a basic configuration or checkings on your audio or the speaker devices. This is the way on how we also empower end user to do a basic troubleshooting. When I click into join now, I'm already in the call. So you see all the functions that you could do inside a Teams meeting is essentially little bar at the bottom. Starting from the left-hand side, you are able to switch on your camera, or you are able to mute yourself, or you are able to share your screen here, which I will show you later. So when you expand that, you have the option to either share your whole screen, you can include your system audio from your PC when you play video, for example, or you could even share your screen per application. Say, if I just want to share a PowerPoint to my attendees. So when I go to more action, here you will see more powerful action that you could do within Microsoft Teams. For example, the meeting details. So when I click into that, these are the meeting details that from the calendar invite. I don't even need to switch to my Mail app or Outlook app to see the details. For example, if there is an ad hoc participant, I could here just simply add his or her phone numbers and then use call me function, or I could just simply copy the join info, share to him or her using not only email but also other kinds of communication channels. I could also turn on my live caption here. So when I turn it on, it will automatically capture the voice from my microphone and then do a live captioning here. The rationale that we build live caption, it's because of the inclusiveness that we want. We think about people that may have hearing impairments, or maybe their English is not their first language or spoken language, or even a very common scenario we see recently is that actually most of our participants don't really open up their speakers in a call. So a live caption, it's a good way. Say if you're a coffee shop and you don't want to turn on your speakers, then live caption will be a plain text option for you to join the meetings. Start a meeting button. When you click that, then firstly, you will be able to see a little pop-up on the top, notifying everybody in the call that this meeting will be recorded. And later on, when you go to chat room, so you will see a small white rectangular box here. So once the meeting is done, it will be automatically provisioning the meeting recordings videos here for all the participants to play back. And good thing about the recording is it will automatically convert your voice to text. So you don't even need somebody to draft down the minutes and send out to everybody. It's already included in this meeting recordings. Also from the chat, you will be able to see the agendas or all the pre-read PowerPoint materials that are previously shared before the meeting. So it shared the same meeting chat. Or I could even add a zip files here. Lastly, the people icon here. So I have the option to either add a participant using his or her emails, or I could even type in the numbers here. So very simple. That's a during experience. And then after the call, say if I need to send out a list of follow-up action, then I just need to go back to calendar and then I could right click on any meetings, click on chat with participant. Going back to Teams meeting, here we would also want to share with you some of the power features that we recently shipped or we will be shipping very soon. So here you see we design our new features with the three key rationale behind. Firstly, we want to empower our Teams user to meet anywhere. So here we talks about the consistent experience across different devices. For example, when you join in through a mobile phone or through your personal desktop, then it's consistent experience across chat, or other different kinds of workloads. Particularly to calling scenarios, Teams can be a soft phone, which at the back, it's powered by the Microsoft Cloud PBX. So the consistent experience here is especially when you're working from home, you're still able to dial out or call your customers from your mobile apps or from your Teams app using your direct landline from your office desk phone. And meeting with intelligence, so we try to leverage what we have or what we have developed from Azure and infuse all these kind of AI elements into our meeting features to improve your effectiveness as well. And lastly, meeting with confidence, that's the resiliency that we have been improving at the back end. I also prepare some of the slides for you to share the experience that we have been improving. So AI for Teams. So these are the feature that it's already available back in 2019. For example, the meeting recording or the background blur feature, which I already shown in the demos. Inside the Teams, when you do IM or any chat content or text contents, you can simply click on Translate. And for mobile companion mode, that's the seamless experience that we designed for you to switch from a desktop to your Teams mobile app. For meeting features, these are two features that I also demonstrated just now. The live captioning, currently we support English as the input. We'll be adding more option as the supported input language in this year. And customized background, so currently we already have, it's the Microsoft Whiteboard inside the Teams meetings. Another powerful feature that we have here, it's the content camera. That's we call the smart whiteboard experience. You see that when people is drawing in a physical whiteboard, from the Teams remote experience, we see that we'll try to first sharpen the ink. And then second, we'll also make the people in front of the whiteboard in transparent. That to improve remote attendee a better meeting experience. And then the attendee app templates. So it's the Power Apps templates that you could actually download for attendance taking, maybe a more useful scenarios for classroom or workshop. Again, it's just consume what your existing O365 enterprise or business subscription, because this app, it takes SharePoint as your data source. And also a recent update that we shipped in March, it's a new Power BI connector for Teams core quality dashboards. Before that, normally the core quality dashboard sits in your Teams admin centers. So with this Power BI connector or the templates that we have, then you could download this template, connect back to your O365 tenant, and with more details of the reports. So one part here is you are able to select your Teams meeting by each session ID. When you click into that, some more detailed entries that you're able to see. For example, the attendee here, the duration that they are in the call, and even the endpoints that they join through, for example, through browser or through endpoint. Later, the templates or the meeting metrics that we have will be incorporated as a tab in the meetings. It will be a feature coming soon. And then for raise hand, it's a feature that we just announced as the 3rd year anniversary of Teams. So it's also applicable to more for classroom scenarios, raise hand function. When attendees or students who may want to raise questions, then they could just click on raise hand to get the attention from the presenter. And what's more about the meeting, it's the interoperability that Teams work with the third parties. So firstly, it's the cloud video interop. Previously, we support 3 partners already, BlueJeans, Poly, and also Pixip. The scenarios for CVI, it allows Teams call to be joined in your existing VTC devices. They are using a traditional video codec, for example, HF323 or SIP. They are able to, through this kind of CVI gateway, to join the call or use the camera from your VTC device. And then Cisco is also becoming one of their offerings that we have. And another thing is the direct guest join features. So it does not require an extra license. It will just be an update pushed to the Teams meeting room. The experience is like the screenshot showing here. So inside a Teams meeting room, not only you could join a normal Teams meeting, but also we are able to capture any WebEx or Zoom meetings into this Teams meeting room, allows you to do a one-click to join here. Meeting with confidence. So that's the resiliency that we designed to empower the user as well. Here it lists out 3 common scenarios that contributes to a poor call qualities. So first, it's the low battery scenario. Second, the poor networks. Third, even worse, you don't even have networks, zero network scenarios. So Teams can smartly detected these anomalies inside your endpoint. For example, we see that you are having a low battery signals, or you are having a very poor mobile data, or you don't even have any Wi-Fi or data from the endpoint. Then they will smartly pop up with you the little reminder here. For example, Teams advise you to turn off the videos when you are in a low battery mode or poor network situation, because your choppy video that will be also sent back to the meeting room may also affect other participants inside the same conference. And then for the auto reconnect scenarios, it happens when there is no networks in your mobile phone. We won't just immediately quit you out of the call. Instead, we'll immediately brings you to option here, either dial in or call me back functions. So you have the option to either dial in using your existing phone numbers, or you could do a call me back. You may want to just switch the call into another devices. So the way that we enables you the function that we just showed, the dial in or the call me function, it's actually by Microsoft offerings called the audio conferencing. Not many people are aware of that, but basically how it works, it's other than the dial in or call me features that I have shown, when the audio conferencing user is creating a Teams meetings, not only you will be able to see an internet join link, but also it will bundle with conference speeches, which we currently support for 90 plus countries with a range of toll and toll-free number options. And for packet loss resiliency, this is something that we have already shipped back in January. So it's just quality updates that to smoothen your meeting experience, even if you're in a poor networks. Sometimes in a call, you may realize that your voice or the other voice are choppy, or we call jittering. That's mostly because of the consistent poor networks, which we quantified it as the 50% of packet loss here. So with this resiliency enhancement, even if you were in a 50% packet loss environment, we're still able to smoothen your voice. So coming up, we also have a big improvement. We are able to reduce our bandwidth requirement for peer-to-peer audio call from 30 kb per second to 7 kb per second. It's also an announcement we made for the 3rd year anniversary that we will revamp our audio codec from currently Silk to Satin. Lastly, it's essentially the backbone of the Office 365. So when we talk about global network, we don't just talk about the coverage of our data center, but also CDNs that we have, and also transport relay. Apart from a normal Teams meeting scenario, which we support for up to 250 participants, we also offer you, we just talked about the normal Teams meeting scenario, which we support up to 250 participants. But sometimes we also receiving more and more question about the scenarios, for example, like town hall or a webinar styles of workshop, which we need a capacity for up to 10,000 attendees or even more. It's a good time for you to consider the Teams Live event, which it's already included in most of your Office 365 subscription. So yeah, I recommend you to try after this session as well. So Teams Live event is a little different from Teams meeting. It's essentially leverage Azure CDN at the back to do a broadcasting to our audience. The mechanism here that we support 2 modes. First, it's a native Teams mode here. We will try to basically broadcast this Teams meeting using Azure CDN. That's the first scenarios. And then the second scenario is we could also work with the third-party encoder. So you can leverage third-party encoder to compose your video content instead of a Teams meeting layout. And then you could also distribute this content through our Stream CDN. So to create a Teams live event is actually very simple, which includes only 3 steps. First step is scheduling. Second is producing. So you will see a slightly different UI than you see in Teams meeting, which I will walk you through later. That's a way for producer to decide which screen or which camera to be broadcast to our audience. Lastly, for attending, it's very simple. Attendee, wherever they receive the links, maybe from EDM or from a blast of a message, then they could just join the meeting through browser or through mobile Teams apps. So going back to the same place where we start our Teams meeting demos into the calendars wheels. So on top right-hand corner, apart from create a new meeting, you can actually create a live event right away here. So you see the interface is similar to a Teams meeting. You need to type in a title, input your location or details, set the date and time. Here's
Apart from producer role,
and then it's a presenter role, which the functionality of presenter, it's exactly the same as Teams meeting. Share screen, unmute your speaker, turn on your camera. If it's a town hall scenarios, then you may select for Okwai. Then once attendee clicks into the link, it will require them to log in with the O365 AD. Say if it's an external webinar or workshop, then you may consider the public live event, which receiver attendee can receive the link, click, and without login to get into the broadcast. When you scroll down a little bit, these are the materials that you could include with your Teams live event for your crew. The whole recording that you could download and export as MP4 files, or the on-demand viewing option to your attendees. And for captioning here, it is doing a better job than a Teams meeting because we support not only English as the input language, and then we will do a live translation for up to 6 languages, depends on your attendees who select. And then attendee engagement report and Q&A, it will be a CSV file for you to capture some more insights during your live event. External app and device that I show here, that's a scenario where you want to use your third-party encoder to compose your video content and broadcast. So for this time, I will just leverage what we have in Teams out of the box. So for the meeting layout is slightly different from what you see from Teams meeting. You'll see at the top, I'll have the get attendee links here. That's the link I need to copy and spread out to my attendees. And then when you scroll down, you'll see the normal join button. Scrolling down a little bit more, you will see alerts here which say don't forward this invitation, because for this calendar invite, we designed that it's only for the crew. So for producer and presenter only. And for the bottom join live event link, it's only also for producer and presenters. So pay attention, and external people, they should always use the attendee links to join. The special thing that you'll see is at the top. It clearly shows me that I'm joining this live event as a producer. So you'll be able to see what a producer panel looks like in Teams. So you will see two rectangular boxes here. From the left-hand side, that's a preview screen for your own. So you see at the bottom, you can select your video laid out. On the right-hand side, that's simulating attendee view. You will see a slight delay from right-hand side because it will simulate how your attendees to grab the real traffic content from the Azure CDN. Currently, it is only me inside the live meeting. So you see, I could either share my desktop screen, which I have already opened up a PowerPoint here, or I could also open up my cameras or speakers, just like what I did in a Teams meeting. So on the top, you will see it's currently in pre-live, which means that the things that I try to share on this left-hand side screen or right-hand side screen, attendee won't be able to see it unless I click on Send Live, then click on Start. And currently, 0 people clicks into the attendee links. And then when you click into the Share button on the right-hand side, you will be able to share different screen, same as meetings. You could share the whole screen or you could share a different application. A common scenario is when in a webinar, you may want to share a videos. You could just simply open up MP4 files or any videos inside your computers and then play it. And you just need to click that screen and then go to Send Live. It will be an experience as you have playing a videos in a queue. You see a list of icons. The first heartbeat icon will show you the estimated bandwidth. So here you see I am sharing my camera with a live video playing, which takes up a quite high level of bandwidth, around 12 megabytes. But keep in mind, this bandwidth requirement, it only requires for the producer or presenter side. For audience, it will be a requirement or the recommendation of having at least 1.2 megabyte per second on their end. And the question marks icon, that's the way you interact with your attendee. The voice input here. So you could either make an announcement here, send out, people can like your comment, reply your announcement, raise a question in a Q&A box here. It will be a private Q&A by default, and you have the right to decide whether you want to make it as public. On the chat room here, it will be a chat that is exclusive to your crew team for some logistic communication. People icon here, it only includes people which are the producer or the presenters. Settings wheel here, that's the exact same experience you will see from Teams meetings. You could define your audios or any cameras that maybe you have plugged with a switch. Here, I would also want to call out it's for playing videos inside a team meeting, you should always check the include system audios. Currently, this function is not yet available in a live meeting. So a quick sharing to you, it's the way we could work around the include system audio function in a Teams live event. It's you could install some kind of virtual cable application. Here I'm installing a freeware called the VB Audio. What you need to do is you just need to configure microphone to these virtual cables, and then your desktop speaker to this virtual cable as well. When you unmute, then you will see, yeah, although it's a recorded video, then yeah, you will see I'm able to capture my computer sound into, yeah. So yeah, you could also switch back to your headset setting after you play the video. And of course, I also recommend you to have a dedicated laptop for you to play video. So you don't need to always switch your device settings here. Once you click on Start button in this yellow box here, you will see on the top, it goes live, which means that your audience will be seeing the screen exactly what you're seeing on the red rectangular box. When you click on End Event, then your audience will no longer see any live streaming. And pay attention here, it's unlike meetings, you have the rights to join in and out inside the same meetings. That's the audience view, as if it clicks on the attendee link. So you see a little different here. It's pure visual, though they don't even have the bar on the bottom for you to unmute yourself or turn on your cameras. If you really have question, then you will need to go to the Q&A checkbox on the right-hand side for you to raise a question to the moderator. And then depends on the settings of the organizer made. The audience will have the right to watch on-demand videos and decide the playback speed here. And also they are able to select resolution. So I just demonstrate how you could produce a webinars using natively Microsoft Teams. Another scenario is we support third-party encoders. So here is the list of the encoder that we support. And then I'm showing one of the example. The OBS Studio is one of the supported third-party encoder to connect with the Teams live event. So OBS Studio, for your information, is also a freeware that you could download and play around. Interface is more or less the same as Teams live event. It also shows you a two screen. Left-hand side is the preview screen that you could customize your video layout. And for right-hand side, that's the preview screen for your live streaming from the attendee view. So on the bottom, you will be able to see you could include many different kinds of sources here. For example, media source. It's essentially MP4 file that you could import from your local desktop. Say if a webinar requires to play two video in sequence, then you could just import these two as media source and make them feasible one by one. Other than the MP4 or media source files, you could also include a text here. So yeah, as you can see, I could write anything as a wish. The layout doesn't necessarily to be like this. You could adjust your size and drag and move anywhere else as you wish. Video capture device, you could also include one of your camera as the source. So for example, when the event goes live, then you may want to just make the camera visible and disable the image. Connecting back to the Teams live event, you just need to go to settings here and go to stream. For Teams, you select for custom, and then you just need to paste down the links that you got here, which I will also show you later. And you just need to type in a random stream key and hit OK. Then you'll be able to start streaming, which includes both system audio automatically and also layout as you customize. Server ingest URL that you need to input to your OBS Studios, it's from here. So yeah, the sequence for you to set up a Teams live event with encoder should be first on this interface, then go back to OBS Studios. Once you create the event with the third-party apps and device option, you'll see this page here. So from right-hand side, you will see the server injects URL. These are the link that you should copy and paste back to your third-party encoders. Bottom, there is a link for you to redirect to Microsoft Stream. As you could see, it's also same experience as you do on OBS or the native Teams Live event. Left-hand side is what you could see on the preview screen. You could decide when to start and end a live event. And from right-hand side, that's the audience view. Scrolling down on the stream portal, you will be able to see the list of encoders. So other than the supported encoder, you have the option to configure manually. Lastly is the eCDM partner solution. So here it talks about the scenarios when you are hosting a town hall on Teams Live event, and many people from your office are joining in this webinars inside the Teams network, which will be a very heavy workload to your internet, because every endpoints that join the webinar, they essentially route from the endpoints from your internal network uh, all the way to our Microsoft data center. To avoid this kind of scenarios, you could consider the eCDN partner solution. Basically, they will do a pre-cache on your side. For example, for Hive or Collective, they will do a peer-to-peer streaming between the devices within the same network. For RAM, it will be a cache proxy between your internal network to the Microsoft CDN. So here it's one of the successful stories that we have. It's the Microsoft Future Decoder Live event in 2019. It's a 10,000 person UK event, which you see we have audience in live, but also we actually offer a live broadcast online using Teams. That's supported here. So when you click into this kind of link, it will direct you to the Teams Live event panel here. Here is the backend of this live event. Just one thing I want to call out, the ingredients to have a successful live event is, first, we have enough people here. And second is we have enough laptops here. Because that's the way for you to customize your video layout, for you to connect to the mixer that you have, and also the way for you to test for the audience scenarios. Time is also something important for Teams Live event. To me, Teams Live event, it's not really a technical or complicated tools, but the planning of live event is more important. So you see, we recommend, if it's the first live event, you use Microsoft Teams, we recommend you prepare 2 to 4 weeks ahead. So in that case, you are able to identify the requirements, whether attendees are joining all from the same internal networks or they will be distributed. You will need to have a good network planning on this part. And then you will also need to train up your video crew using Microsoft Teams Live event to do the broadcast. Lastly, user communication, how you want to promote this live event, because after all, it's just an attendee link. So whether you need to embed it to EDM or to your web portal, that you will also need resources to plan ahead. That's all I have prepared for today. Thank you for your time again. If you have any questions, feel free to leave your question below. We'll be answering you in live. See you.